Meeting. This is our regular meeting. Today is Monday, December the 9th. The time is 5:30 p.m. and I'd like to call us to order. The first thing on our agenda is that we're going to be led in prayer by Commissioner Jenny Holland, and then we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So, Ms. Commissioner Holland.
Sure. Let us pray. Lord, we humbly come before you and ask that you guide, guard, and direct our hearts and our motives and the decisions we make today. Help us to make decisions that will be in the best interest of every single citizen in our community. In your name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, ma'am. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on our agenda, Commissioners, is approval of our agenda. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the agenda with a couple of amendments. I'd like to add a presentation by the Art Commission presenting our Art Citizen of the Year. Ms. Mimi Becker is going to do that, and that's going to be first. And then down at number 12, 12A, I'd like to add Toggle Road Auction Agreement as item 12A, Toggle Road Auction Agreement. So, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those two additions.
I'll move to approve the agenda with the two additions.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second. Go ahead.
Thank both of you. That's great.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Okay. Next on our agenda is a place where we hear the public. Those in attendance tonight can speak to the commission about items that are not on the, that are items are on the agenda tonight, only on the agenda at this time. There will be a section later on for items not on the agenda. But if you desire to speak to us about items on the agenda, please raise your hand, be recognized, and we'll actually come to the podium and we'll give you 3 minutes or less to speak to your city commission. Anyone desiring to speak to us on things on the agenda? Thank you all. Let's move along then. Ms. Becker, Art Citizen of the Year, please.
Thank you. Appreciate the adjustment. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I would appreciate that you allow us to do this at the Arts Commission every year. Customarily, we come in December to make the announcement of who we have selected as the Arts Citizen. And then in January, we actually make the presentation again at your meeting. And we definitely think that it's important because you do recognize how important the arts are. I could, but I won't. Give you a nice long list of the things that the monies and all the activities that are generated through the arts in this community. It's fairly substantial. Just the Constitution Square Festival alone this year pulled in over 7,000 people, and after only 3 years of growth. So that's not, as I say sometimes in poor grammar, that's not nothing, and that's just one. So this year, I do want to thank you, too, for the Jenny Rogers Community Center and the spaces you have allotted us there. Already, we have 4 groups which will meet regularly, either quarterly, monthly, or weekly, and those are just groups. Then there are also activities, classes that are being scheduled, and other types of things that are growing. So we appreciate that because we certainly didn't have space before to do anything like that. So without further ado, our Art Citizen of the Year for 2024 is Bruce Richardson. Bruce, this is, as I said, how did we go all these years and not recognize Bruce? And just right off the top of my head, and we'll go into detail in January, he is the person who is responsible for Danville Children's Choir, which if you know a kid, have a grandchild, have a child who has been through that program throughout the years, it is an experience that many of them still to this day talk about, which has then built into them the lifelong love of the arts, music in particular, but in the arts in general. My own son is one of those. So we'll be back in January to have Bruce receive his award. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any commissioner comments? Save him for January. Save him for January when he's here? Okay. Well, let's move right along then. Mr. Kendall Clinton with a CVB update. You're next. Thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah, good evening. So at the end of the fiscal year, we always take stock of how we did, with the room tax, but as we're ending the calendar year, we're kind of looking back at how things went with visitation from people out of state, out of town. And we have a very visual representation of that in our gift shop, and I just looked at that before we left. It's a couple of posters, one of the United States, one of the world. We have people come in and put pins in the map to show where they're from. And we had people from, and Steve will correct me if I'm wrong, because I know he's looked at this too. I think we had 47 states and about 25 countries that came into our building this past year and pinned our maps. So we've had a pretty good year for tourism, and I wish I could say all those people came here because of our efforts. I know a lot of them did, though. We had a number of initiatives this year that we have went through as far as advertising and marketing of Danville. Just in the past 6 months, we've had ads in Kentucky Living, Southern Living, Bluegrass Outdoors, Cincinnati Magazine, and Group Travel Leader. And we've had digital ads, paid social media campaigns, as well as a billboard campaign. If you've driven out of Nashville recently, you might have seen our culinary billboards that we've put up. We've got 4 of those that have been up since August, and they'll be up through the end of the year promoting Danville's culinary scene. So those are some of the things we've been working on advertising-wise. I've also been working with media for what we call earned media, where they'll write stories about us and we're not paying for them. Just this past week, Southern Living had an article that was the 18 cutest small Southern Christmas towns, and Danville was the only one from Kentucky that was listed. I worked with the writer on that since last fall to get that included in there, and that led to a spinoff article in the Cincinnati newspaper. They basically took that and wrote their own article. So every time I looked at my news feed this weekend on my phone, those 2 articles kept popping up. So we've gotten some pretty good coverage out of that. We kind of slow down on our advertising during the winter. We'll pick back up in the spring. We've got some ads planned for the Brass Band Festival. We've got one that'll focus on Danville as a girls' trip weekend destination, and then one that'll kind of focus on our wedding venues, because that brings a lot of people into town when they have weddings at the venues. So that's advertising activities we've worked on or have coming up. Over the winter break, when things have slowed down, we've got another project we're working on. Visit Lex, which is the CVB for Lexington. They recently launched a website called Film Lexington, which will allow people to put locations on that website for potential filming. So when people are coming to our region looking for places to film, if they want to look for a specific type of location, whether that be a warehouse or a tobacco barn or whatever, they'll go through there and they can look to see what's available. And Visit Lex has expanded that out and made that available to most of the counties within the contiguous area, including us. So I've already put downtown Danville on that. I have the Constitution Square ready to go. I've got to get that added. But the big thing we've got to do is go find these other locations. And they're looking for pretty much anything. It can be our most beautiful spot in town, or it could be, like I said, a tobacco barn. So we've got to go find these locations, get permission from the property owners, and then get photos and get these all loaded on that website. And hopefully that'll result in some interest in filming here. There was a film that just recently wrapped up that was shot partially in Lincoln County, partially in Boyle County, and some of it was shot up in Wilmore. That film, I think, is going to come out sometime next year, and of course includes Boyle County. And you may have seen recently that there's a film that was done by a local guy, Whit Whitman. I think it's called Homeless for the Holidays. It was shot here in Danville. It's on several streaming platforms. It's about to be on Tubi. So, Danville's got, a lot of the characteristics people are looking for filming, and we're just trying to expand that a bit and get some interest. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions about these items or anything else to do with tourism.
Any questions?
No, but I'm glad to make a comment. You've done a great job with the CVB, and your board is very supportive. I go to almost all your meetings, so we appreciate it.
Thanks, Rick.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, and thank you for sharing, or somebody shared the articles, so we got to see the Southern Living article and the Cincinnati article. So thank you for, making those extra steps to bring Danville to light regionally.
Yep, glad to.
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda is Mr. Joseph Yee.
Yes.
Going to give us an update on the fleet update.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody, for letting me be here today. A lot of familiar faces throughout the years. Again, my name is Joe Yee. I'm a client strategy manager with Enterprise Fleet Management, and I've been with Enterprise for 20 years. Danville was actually one of our first cities we brought on board. That was back in April of 2017. And so I was lucky enough to be the client strategy manager from the start. So today, what I did, I figured, and by the way, this can be as interactive as you'd like. We can go pretty quickly through this. Feel free to ask any questions throughout the way. Basically, I showed year-over-year performance, both financially, operationally, and then kind of a life cycle, what we've done from the very beginning. Okay, fleet profile. Believe it or not, you guys have 113 vehicles. That's all in, including police. Chief, how you doing? Total fleet value is right around $2.5 million. Your average holding period is 7.3 years. And you guys have, on average, ordered 15 vehicles per year. So what you can see here, far left, you can see that you have 78% of your vehicles under 50,000 miles. That's a good thing. Then you see 24 vehicles between 50 and 100,000 miles. Maybe one vehicle to the right. So you can see your overall fleet health is very strong, A+. It's spread over 4 manufacturers. So just a little snapshot of the fleet. Vehicle classes, there's a lot on this, but the main thing to look at, what we look at a lot of times to drive financial performances is your mileage. 6,500 annual miles all in average. And your average odometer is 31,000 miles. Again, very strong for a city fleet. Spend overview. Okay, so everything you see here is year over year. What I did was I took the latest data that we had, so ending last month, compared that year to the exact same time frame year prior. And Josh will tell you, Lee will tell you that we can pull any data you want, any date range. So if you wanted to look at a fiscal year, do a fiscal year comparison, that's fine. But I thought for tonight's, we could just look at the most recent data. What you see here is a spend overview. The 4 biggest buckets of expenses, your lease expense, or I'm sorry, the 3 biggest buckets, your lease expense, fuel, and maintenance. What you see there where it's flat is a good thing. That's what we want to see. Lease expense did go up slightly, but we did add 4 new vehicles. I think they were police vehicles. But you can see it, and I'll show you later on with the equity slide, that it's really strong because we added that many vehicles and the fleet expense barely went up. Fuel went down, and I have a slide for it later, but ultimately the cost of fuel went down a little bit, and then the total gallons that the city pumped was a little bit less than the year prior. Maintenance and fees, I'm sure you've seen the industry right now. Maintenance is the largest single expense that has gone up. It's gone up 50% year over year. So it's as expected to see a little bit of an increase in maintenance. Overall, though, it's about a wash, which is great for budgeting. That's what we want to see. Any questions so far? Okay. And then just to dive into a little bit more of the maintenance. And keep in mind, this is managed maintenance, meaning anything that's not included in the lease. The majority of this is going to be police vehicles. Most of the other city vehicles have the maintenance spend included into the lease. And so you see total billing, 61,000 compared to 42,000. Miles driven, you guys do about a little over 500,000 annually, all combined. Average odometer, 39,000. 61 vehicles are in that category. We were able to save about $4,000 last year. That's from our maintenance team. When they go to a shop, they call it in and they say, hey, it needs to get brakes, tires, this flush, that flush. And our team reviews everything. We make sure it needs done. It's at fair pricing. And then a lot of times we'll say, hey, it doesn't need done, or we're able to find it under warranty. So that's how we're able to save money. We track it for you. $1,100 the year prior and $3,700 last year, We did 143 repair orders. That's what RO means. And so as expected, again, with just the cost of maintenance way up year over year, that's pretty common for what we see. Just to break down the fuel expense, 214,000 last year compared to 232. Total gallons down about 3,000 gallons. Cost per month, again, went down a little bit. You can see the cost was 302. We all like seeing that, right? Fuel expenses going down compared to 318. So this is where we get into the good stuff. Resale. That's what makes Enterprise great. That's what we do. We sell vehicles very well. We take it out on the market. We don't just take it to auction. We take your vehicles and we sell it in the wholesale market, direct to dealers. We market them online. We do very, very well, and you'll see on the next slide too. But for this case, we sold 3 vehicles last year, 15 vehicles the year prior. Total months in service, 7764. Ending odometer, both right around 40,000. You can see the sales price there, 31.5 last year compared to just under 30,000 the year prior to that. For a total gain loss, you can see 93,000 we were able to return back to the city, and then 408,000 the year prior to that. Average gain in equity we were able to bring back to the city was 31,000 per vehicle last year and 27 the year before that. Industry benchmark, what this shows here is 100% would be the rest of the industry. All the other fleet management companies, whoever's selling vehicles, Black Book, NADA, Manheim, all of those wholesale markets, we were able to do 64% better last year and 25% better than that. And that equates into thousands of dollars. A lot of that goes into, I was telling Mayor before that, you guys take very good care of your vehicles. I'm sure your drivers and your employees care a lot about it. They have a new fleet. I'm sure it really pays off whenever we go sell it. And then the average effective depreciation. So 25,000 for those 3 vehicles. I believe, I didn't check, but I believe a lot of those were like dump beds and the bigger F-350s, chassis. And then the year prior to that was 19,000. What that means is we bought a vehicle at a price, we sold it, and then whatever that difference is in between is your depreciation expense divided by the months. So really strong, excuse me, $315 per month in the depreciation expense. And of course, depreciation expense is the single largest expense of the fleet, so that's the most impactful. Strong performance. Here's where it gets really good. Oops. What I did was a full resale summary since the partnership in 2017. We sold 74 vehicles. 40 of them were Danville owned. And then 34 of them, we've actually gone through a whole life cycle of the fleet there. And I don't know, I was here several years ago and we did, I don't know if anybody remembers that, but we did an F-150 analysis where we sold vehicles early and got new vehicles and were able to make money off the F-150. So this takes into account that. See, we were at total sale price is $1.3 million on all those vehicles, and we were able to return to the city over $1 million of fleet equity. So let's look into the leased vehicles. 34 total, average months in service right around 60. Average average sale price 28,600. Total equity 781,000. 22 per vehicle. The average effective depreciation was only $12,000 throughout that 60-month period, meaning from the time we started this, you guys have operated at $200, and that includes, there were several police vehicles, a lot of the dump beds, we cycled out of those as well, a lot of the F-150s. This is one of the best fleet performances financially for all our cities. So, again, strong performance. I mean, if you were to go rent even an F-150 for a month, you're talking several $1,000s. So to be able to have a performance like that is absolutely incredible. And hopefully, with your drivers, you guys are seeing the benefits of having a newer fleet, less downtime, employee morale, retention, recruitment, maintenance expenses. I know I'm sure a lot of you guys have been around since before we partnered, and you probably remember the fleet back then as well. So major, major strides, one of the best performing financially operational cities that we do here in Kentucky. Great job. What questions do you have?
Thank you for that great presentation. Any questions from the commission?
It's a lot of information.
It's a lot, yes, and we
Absolutely.
can dive into however you want. We can get into it all you want.
I appreciate you walking this through, because this was prior to when I started. And I kept thinking, how are they saving money? And wow, this really explains it to the public, what a great, not only cost savings, but a newer fleet and less downtime. And so, thank you for this.
Absolutely, and I was telling some my coworkers back at home, I was like, no one really likes to come stand up in front of people, but it makes it so easy whenever we are able to present numbers like this. So again, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
So do we have, I
Yep.
mean, are all the cars now in the fleet, or do we still have older ones? I see on here you've got some 10 years and older. Are those the ones that are just like,
There's very, very few. I mean, there may be, I mean, we go through it quarterly. I come out at least once, twice, or 2 or 3 times a year. We go through the fleet. Miranda has actually helped really straighten the fleet out, and she's done a great job kind of making sure we get rid of stuff that, if we got a replacement in, we get rid of it. But no, there's very few vehicles. And Josh, I think there's maybe just a couple spares out there. They're just kind
Yeah,
of.
the older ones we have that are still city-owned, we don't even drive them very much. They're really just spares, and there's just a handful. And they get kind of equity that doesn't make a lot of sense for us to get rid of them unless we need to, unless there's something wrong with them. So we've got a few, I mean, I'd say it's probably less than 10
Yeah, there's not much.
vehicles that we still own, somewhere in that range.
And, excuse me. So Miranda's done a good job of being the communication link for them through Josh's office, I think. Two, I don't want to communicate that this is all the information we have. We have VIN numbers, we have mileages, we have every level of detail information available in-house. And so certainly, this summarizes it well and communicates it in total. And so we can every individual vehicle, there's a similar analysis on that particular vehicle now. And so we appreciate that level of effort on their part to communicate to us.
Yeah, in full transparency, we can break down every single penny. I can show you where every dollar's gone to your fleet. So that's what we pride ourselves on. And anytime you need to see anything, let me know.
Yeah, we're hoping to bring a little more information to you all, especially during the budgeting period. It's been tough since COVID to kind of get any kind of stability with this, because one, prices the way they are, and also how long it takes us to get vehicles when we request something. But I think we're kind of getting back to a point where we can actually plan and not just go with whatever's working in the market at the time. So we're hoping this spring to be able to bring some information to you all about what vehicles we're looking at trading in and getting new next year, and how that's going to impact the budget, so we can prepare better for those kind of things. So we're going to do this more often, for one thing. We're going to have Joe come down more often, and then hopefully have some more information for budgeting.
Yeah, and that's a good point, too. There was a period there where we were being very market-driven. And so as we saw something, as one of the manufacturers reached out and provided deadlines and whatnot, we were quick to make decisions that help process turnover or not. And I think that's been important. Being nimble enough to make those decisions helped out a lot through
Yeah.
COVID, say it like that.
Chief Gray? He was waiting for you.
He'll probably tell you that, I think probably one of our biggest things is the police vehicles. We got the largest fleet, and, we used to keep our vehicles for 9 to 10 years. And we have high maintenance and low value when we traded those cars in. We weren't getting anything, and we were paying tremendous service bills because we kept them so long. And I think that's what you see up here now, is that we service them better, and we turn them in quicker, and we don't get into that, so much debt pouring into the vehicle as we used to. And I think our police fleet, just the way we turn it over, is a lot better. Captain Matano also works with him pretty much hand in hand on our police fleet too. So you've got not just Miranda doing it, but, we have Matano also monitoring just our vehicles alone, which also help, you got 3 or 4 sets of eyes on all our vehicles.
That's great. Other questions or comments?
Yeah, and like Commissioner Holland, I was here, and it was kind of a bold move for us to go into it because we weren't sure. I'm really happy to see it's turned out so well.
Awesome. And there's plenty more too. I mean, Like Earl said, I mean, the market's finally back to normal. We can start looking at, replacements and making money off the fleet again, selling it for more than we maybe bought it for. And you guys, throughout the COVID, we had a lot of our customers really struggle during COVID because they had aged vehicles, they waited too long. The next thing you know, we had to go get them through a dealer because that's all the way we could get them. And then, as you know, they were charging 5, 10K over MSRP. But you were able to wade the storm very well. I mean, we didn't do much during the COVID period because it didn't make financial sense. So when we met, I literally would say, hey, don't replace these. 2 years ago, it might make sense, but right now, that's not. And now we can pinpoint it and run the financial analysis every year. And maybe next year, it might make sense. That's what we do.
Well, that sounds great.
Thank you for the information. I'm glad he's here, and
Yeah.
hopefully he can come back more often, I guess, or especially in the budget process.
I'll be here
Be
weekly
nice.
or monthly if you want.
As long as it's good news, right?
That's what it will be, I promise you.
Well, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our previous meetings. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 11/25/2024, special call meeting and regular meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, additions, deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. Commissioner Cottle's seat is vacant this afternoon. I need to call to your attention that he called in about 15 minutes before the meeting started. He was under the weather, was having some illness concerns, so I want to keep him in our thoughts. Next item is Resolution 2024-12-0901, IT surplus. Actually, you going to take care of that one for us?
Yes, in your packet, you have a list of IT items that they would like to surplus through govdeals.com. We're just asking you all to approve that.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-12-0901.
Thank you, ma'am. A second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, resolution passes. Next on our agenda is a report from our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Would like to start with the parade this weekend. Went real well. I heard a lot of positive feedback myself, although I was out of town. And so hopefully you all had a similar experience and would like to thank Melanie and everyone that helped put that together. There was quite a few, and that takes a lot of work, especially the volunteers that don't have to. And so we just move into Christmas and Christmas season and thank for the volunteer help. We think it turned out real well. December 11th, 11 a.m. to 1 is the lunch at the showroom, City County Lunch, the VFW puts on. So we want to thank those guys in advance and hope to see everyone there. December the 12th, Morning Point is a grand opening, 4 to 7. You all have all been invited to that event. I think should be a nice addition to the community. December 24th and 25th, of course, City Hall is closed for Christmas. The 1st is New Year's. City Hall is closed again. January 13th is the next regular commission meeting. So we'd like to note that in your calendars because it will be such an extended period, and hopefully we don't have a need for any special call meeting through Christmas. January 20th, of course, is ML King celebration, beginning at 9 a.m. and City Hall's again closed that day. The auditors will be here, or we will have a meeting with the auditors on Thursday. They'll be here of this week. Hopefully, we'll start to see a production on the last year's audit. America 250th Celebration Committee. So we want to thank the county for helping get that started. They appointed a chairman, and which is former Judge Wilder, who is leading a group to assemble the program and the events around America's 250th anniversary, which is quite a bit away. but apparently the extended period was necessary the last time during the 200th, which is predates quite a few people, and but not everyone, but the so they're getting started on that again. It's going to be a great celebration. There will be some things to consider during the budget process this year, I'm sure, because this will be the budget that will impact the celebration the most next spring. So we'll bring that information to you. The fire department at Central Station is collecting toys for the Salvation Army Angel Tree through 12/13. The downtown coupon books are available. They're available, and they're good through March 31st. And they include 38 various downtown businesses. So we appreciate that participation. Tower Hill Painting, there's a winter shutdown. I don't know if Marshall wants to add anything to that. Would like to point out the tower's not done. Temperatures got them. So it's going to look like it's going to look for a few weeks until temperatures rise back up above. But we will put the tank back in service. And so then when the weather average temperature rises again, we'll empty the tank and finish the project.
Yeah, so what Earl was talking about there, obviously painting is weather related. They hope to have already had additional coats put on the tank thus far. Weather hasn't cooperated, so now we're into the winter time frame. And so we talked with the contractor and everybody agreed to just put it on hold until the spring when the weather warms back up so that paint can cure properly. It's got one coat on it now. Obviously, it's a better color now than what it was before we started. A lot of the contractual work that was done, we've got about 70% of the contract completed. A lot of the heavy lifting on those contracts are the sanding and the site prep and the welding and so on. So there's been a lot of work behind the scenes that's not as visible as the new coats of paint. So in the spring, we'll probably be applying, I think, maybe 2 to 3 more coats, and then we'll be done with the project in the spring.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Marshall. And then we are doing parks planning. What I would ask you all to consider is as we're doing some site visits over the next few weeks and months, if one of the commissioners wants to attend that, we would like to make that opportunity. You can reach out to me this week or something. We'll be fine. But there will be some site visits to some rec centers and things like that we'll do. And you may not be able to go to all of them, but if you would like to go to one or if you want to be available for that, just let us know. Also, I would like to tell the commission as a group, unless you all want to do something different, and you all don't have to tell me right now, but when we're doing things like the downtown master plan, when it involves something tied to economic development and whatnot, because the mayor and Commissioner Peak are involved with the Economic Development Corporation and the EDA with the mayor, I will ask them to participate in some of those things. That's not meant to be exclusionary or anything like that, or it's meant to gather their input in those roles. And I just want to make sure you all understand that as a board. And then we will report back to you our activities as time passes, especially if there's something outside of those roles that involves the commission, that would certainly in total come back to you. But if I just want to make sure you all understand that we're not leaving you out of something, that we're using them in those roles. I know the mayor and I was at an Industrial Foundation meeting last week in his role. And so as we do that, I just want to make sure we communicate effectively with you. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to address those with you as you all want. And that's all I got for tonight.
Oh. Any questions, comments?
I did put the finance report for November in there for you.
Oh. Comments or questions for our city manager?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ladies first.
I've had a few people ask me where they can get the remaining coupon books. Are they set out anywhere, or are they in any certain businesses?
I think Melanie has those in her office here at City Hall, so they can just request them from legislative
Yeah.
department.
that
Okay,
works.
thank you.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure she hadn't left any out, so I apologize.
Other questions,
Yeah,
comments?
I just wanted to make it clear that when you were talking about capital improvements for Parks and Rec, we have decided that we're in favor of doing the in-house one. This is mainly for the public, I'm commenting, with the pool and and the courts inside and pickleball. So that's what we'll be looking at, and hopefully that's what we'll be able to move on in 2025.
Yes,
Correct.
and so I appreciate you bringing that up. And to your point, to be very specific, we're doing a deeper dive into that so that we can organize the scope of what that project might look like, so that when we bring it back, it's more, you have a scope more developed.
Part of that will be site evaluation as well, right?
Yes.
I have a question, since that's a joint project with the county. Isn't their budget due earlier than ours? It seems like they're turning theirs in early. Or am I imagining that?
They have requirements to submit theirs to the Department of Local Government much sooner than we do. It's,
Right.
I believe, closer to March.
That's what I was thinking. So if we do a group project, we'd have to really talk about it quickly, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Thank you for that brief report, Mr. City Manager. Let's move along then. This is where we hear the public for the second time in this meeting, and those in attendance who want to speak to the commission on items that are not on the agenda may do that at this point. Raise your hand, be recognized. We'll give you 3 minutes or less at the podium, and we'll be glad to listen to you. Thank you all again. So next on the agenda is commissioner comments. You'll have to raise your hands on that one.
Go ahead.
I think you should go ahead, Donna, and tell us, give the kudos out on the Saturday's Christmas events. Yeah.
No, I mean, I was going to say on the tree lighting, it was nice. It was really cold, and I
Okay.
appreciate the children's choir coming out and standing out there and singing. And then the parade, the whole day was nice. We were up there early and then left and then came back. But it was a great day, and I don't know how they made it snow, but people were excited about that. The snow on Maine was pretty awesome, so.
Yeah. At the end of the parade, it snowed on us. You went on Second Street, it snowed on people. So.
And then the coupon books were just an added bonus down at, at the tree lighting. I think people appreciated that. It wasn't expected, so.
No.
Don't jump me over.
Yeah.
Well, while they're thinking about it, I want to call out Chief Grace, give some kudos to Chief Grace for being recognized as a outstanding alum of Danville High School this past, certainly. It was, he was recognized at the same time we was having the parade, so he was not doing any traffic control. He was up on stage in the hot seat, but that was really a nice program for Chief. And what, it was 6 of you all that got recognized? He's been awful quiet back there, okay, but, then I think the city manager tried to stress the point about during this holiday season, we should all shop locally, and that's something I want to stress. And then we never say anything about all the decorations around Danville, downtown included, that are done by our first responders and by lots of citizens in this community. I won't say it wrong, the sleds are out, sleighs are out now, you know, it just looks a lot of neat stuff going on. And I know we have lots of volunteers, so be sure we take the time to say thanks and kudos for all those volunteers. And then tomorrow at 11:30 in our chamber, I call it Leadership Danville. I know it's called Leadership something else now, but Leadership Danville / Boyle County. They'll be here tomorrow in our chamber at 11:30, and I think the task is to give them some political science 101 about our city government, and then to let them ask questions to all of us in attendance. So I want to stress to the commission and to the department heads, if you are around at 11:30, please come in, and I'll be sure to call you out and recognize you and let you say whatever you want to say for about 25 words or less, but feel free to do that. Other commissioner comments?
Well, I'll say her name wrong, just to mention Leilana
Yes.
and Melanie. They were out there, wow, probably 8, 9 hours, and it was cold. And thank you to the Visitor Center, allowing people to warm up in there and serving cookies. So I think everything else is covered. Sleighs look great. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Public Works.
They were all invited to come to tonight's meeting, but they asked to be deferred till the first meeting in January so that the entire committee who's worked with all this parade and all the downtown stuff, they get their whole committee to come in and get kudos at the same time. So that's good.
It's great.
Other comments?
And to the downtown businesses that are meeting, and they're the ones that sort of brainstorm the windows and their 12 days of Christmas and decorating, so that's a good thing.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is there a Shop with a Cop? Was that going on today, Chief Gray?
Yes, we did have Shop with a Cop with the elementary schools from the Danville school system. They provide, I'm not quite sure exactly how many we did today. 21? Felt like 121, but it was, we gave them sugar and sweet drinks, so it was a blast for about 5 hours. And then we sent them home.
Send them back home.
Well, I had come in to sign Christmas cards, and I kept hearing cheering of children, and someone said, I think they're doing the shopping with the cops, but I wasn't sure, so thank you for doing that. That's just a great community outreach.
It was it is a great event. And we do have fun with that.
Yes.
Well, as we go into remission somewhat with community activities during the holidays, I'll just reiterate, it takes a village, and we've been representative of that all year long. So Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone.
During the parade Saturday night, the judge and I were, saying Merry Christmas to everyone as we went by. Someone gave a shout out back to us and said, well, Happy Hanukkah. So I said, well, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy New Year. And then I said, and then there's 10 other ones that I can't think of right now, but there's 14 different religious things that are celebrated during this, what we call the Christmas season. So I want to say kudos and shout outs to all of those different groups. And they should all be respected and appreciated for how they celebrate this season. Okay, let's move along then. Next item is payment of the bills. Chair would entertain a motion to pay the bills as presented. Thank you for that motion. Thank you for that second. I didn't guess that.
Bills in the amount of $1,336,449.43 as presented.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
It looks kind of obvious, but just because I'm somewhat ignorant sometimes. E38 survey solutions, they maintain our GPS units, or what is that, Lee?
Yeah, those were for new GPS units. If you all recall back over the past couple of years, we've been making a major push to update our water and sewer maps. And that's for newer updated GPS models and equipment for our folks to use in the field to update those maps as they come to issues, whether it be a leak or something in the field or new installations, using that more modern technology to get that information into our mapping system.
Thank you, sir. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, chair call for the question. All those in favor of paying our bills say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we're going to have a business license update by Ms. Lee Compton. Ms. Compton?
So I wanted to provide a little bit of an update just on the quantity of new business license we've issued since January. And then some information for the commission and citizens and business owners for an upcoming push to update our records that we're doing. So since January of 2024, we have issued 377 new business license within the city. Most of that happens between April and August. We get a lot of new businesses. That's kind of a cycle they have in the warmer months. We do have those on our website as they are issued. I think we need to get October and November's list out there on the website, and we'll have those. They should be updated by tomorrow. But for anybody interested in the public, they can go out there and see new businesses. They're a brief description of what that business does and the name, and some information that we are allowed to publish online. But secondly, we will be sending out a mailing postcard to all registered businesses in the city of Danville that we have within our licensing system. Our licensing system has not had a major update to it in the last decade or so, and I would say a significant amount of information in the database is just outdated. Sometimes businesses move, they change phone numbers, they change owners, and they don't always update our information. And unless there's a reason we run into them, for instance, they have a question or tax filing purposes, they don't always get us those updates. So we're sending out a postcard via the mail to go out later this month, requesting that businesses update their information with us. It's not a requirement. There's no cost to do it. They can do it here in person at City Hall or via paper, but Melanie created a website link to update it electronically. So they don't have to come in or talk to us at all. But if they would like to, they can call and ask the finance department any questions about it. But we're just wanting them to update regular information, address, business, location, phone number, website if they have it, just to help us get a more accurate and up-to-date database.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
That was good information you shared with us over the weekend, too. Questions or comments?
So this is to hopefully clean up the business licenses.
Yeah, in the database that we have, I excluded anybody that was no longer active or no longer open that we knew of. And there are still about 9,500 businesses, some of which are probably not active in the city. Some of them could be vendors that came in town for a couple of events and are no longer here. Some of them could be businesses that were registered in 1990, and we just have not had a good process in place to keep those up to date. We've not had a great system in place to keep them up to date. So going forward, and I don't know that we'll do this annually because it's not free to do. The postage loan is about $4,000 to do it. But we hope to put a process in place, maybe, businesses A through B are updated, this month and something to that effect. I've not quite worked out the details, but this is kind of our initial push to start the process.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item is yours as well, an Economic Development Authority additional funding requests.
So the Economic Development Authority, so for the public's information, they are a quasi-governmental entity that is funded by the City of Danville along with the Boyle County Fiscal Court. They have requested an additional funding allotment for this fiscal year because they have received an opportunity to acquire property. And they have requested from matching amounts from both the city and the county to increase their funding in the amount of $1,615,000. This will require a budget amendment for the city before the end of the fiscal year. To accomplish that, this would come from general fund money, and we would like a motion for that approval of that increase in funding.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the EDA additional funding request.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions?
Well, I appreciate the EDA explaining what it's going to and how this will help economic development and how active they've been. So they've done a great job moving us forward, so
Thank you,
it'll
ma'am.
be a great investment.
And I agree. Terry Crowley gets kudos. He worked very hard on this. Actually got the price down. And so we appreciate that.
Well, don't leave out our city manager, well, I guess I can say that, but our city manager was really a driving force about 2 years on this proposal, but that's okay. Other questions or comments?
The county's already approved their share as well, right?
Oh, they have?
I think so.
They included their anticipated funding in their fiscal year 24-25 budget. We did not.
Right.
Because, as Ms. Holland spoke about earlier, their budget cycle is kind of more locked in than ours is.
Okay. Great.
Good. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. Resolution 2024-12-0902. Civic Plus Agreement, and Ms. Compton, that's yours as well.
So we, as we were actually just speaking about, our business license software is actually a database that was created in about 2014 by our IT director, Mr. Nick Warren. And it unfortunately has been on its last legs for quite a while now. So we have been in the process of searching for business license software for the current fiscal year. I did several demos with various entities that provide business license software. The range of available software is pretty big, surprisingly. However, the ongoing cost of some of them was just not feasible for our current level of licensing and what we currently do, in my opinion. So we had 3 vendors that I spoke with and had information from. The prices range from $6,800 to $29,000 annually. And so we are recommending moving forward with Civic Plus. Their cost is $6,800 for our first year of service and an annual $6,700 plus inflationary cost, presumably. Civic Plus is the vendor that hosts our website, so we are familiar with this vendor. They're very responsive when it comes to tech issues, things like that. They're not quite as fancy of some of the other vendors. However, in my opinion, they'll do a good job and provide a good value for the needs that we have. New businesses will be able to continue to register online. It'll be a little bit of a different process. They'll also be able to go in and update their own information within their new registration, or if they're an existing entity, they'll be able to update their information electronically. Right now, while we do accept electronic registrations, it's a PDF form that comes to City Hall via email, and then we manually key all this information. So it's going to bring us a little closer to 2024 technology-wise. They'll still be able to pay electronically online, and then we just think it'll be a better value than what we are currently able to provide to the citizens.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions or comments?
Would the annual costs come back every year for approval?
So
says-
it would be,
Or is it a contract for so many years, or?
so technically, it's not a contract for, like, we can cancel
Okay.
essentially at any point in time. If we need to, it's similar to our other, the other fees that we have from Civic Plus. So essentially, as with a, I think it's like a 60-day notice, as with anything, but it's not a multi-year agreement. We're not locked into any essential form.
And you-
Okay.
You would include it in your budget, part of your budget?
It is,
request?
and we did include this fiscal year, we included $20,000 for new business license software. So this is coming in a little under that mark. And then going forward, that would just be budgeted in the finance department's information systems budget.
And our IT department has had a chance to review this, and they're okay with this software?
No, I can have them do that if you would like. They didn't do a deep dive review of them. It's all cloud-based, and it is our current vendor, so I honestly skipped that step. I didn't ask them to do that.
This is a module inside of the existing
Yes.
platform that they endorsed, and so we didn't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
And the old one that was self-made will go away when we have this, which
It
is.
will go
mo-
away.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean.
It's
been a long
very
time.
bad.
Right.
Nothing
I won't
ever
go
goes
into all the
away.
details, just so.
I mean, we appreciate that he did that, but.
Yeah, no,
So
he,
we move
he
forward.
is more than ready to get rid of it.
Right.
His toes are not being stepped on. He was, very happy for us. It causes IT more work to troubleshoot now than it does any benefits.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, other questions or comments? Hearing none, let's call for the question. All those in favor of
I
approving
don't
this
think we
agreement?
do
made a move. I don't think there's a first and second.
There's not.
Do we have a motion? Oh, well,
I'll move to accept resolution number 2024
thank you, sir.
120902.
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, other questions or comments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. Keep me straight. The time now is that clock right?
6:30.
6:30. We have Marshall and we have Josh left. Need I say anything else? No, I'm just joking. Okay, Marshall, you're up first. Second reading of ordinance 2043.
Thank you, Mayor. This would be the second reading of the discussion that we had last commission meeting regarding the US 150 corridor water project and the commission thereof. If you want any additional information or recap, just let me know.
Clerk, want to read the second reading for us?
This is the second reading of ordinance number 2043, an ordinance relating to the creation of the US 150 Corridor Water Commission.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the second reading of ordinance 2043.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion?
Can I ask one question? The people that are appointed would not be political, correct?
What?
On the commission?
So it's the chief administrative officer of each agency, that's the foundation, and so there will be an interpretation. So theoretically, it will either be the mayor or the position of city manager.
And other cities would be the same?
It would be the CEO of those, like, if, for example, whatever organization it is that's a member, like, so if it's the Stanford Utility Commission, it should be their chief administrative officer, for example.
Okay.
So if it's a mayor, council, form of government, it would be the mayor in that case,
Or his or her designee?
or his or her designee, correct, right.
Like, and it's just a question. If there were a water cutoff in a certain area and it was a political, would the commission as a whole have to, if there
So
was
there would
something, they
be-
couldn't
they-
turn water off in their
They
area?
do not have individual customers.
Okay.
They would only have maximum the number of members that there are.
Okay,
So they will not serve, and the appointed designee as the member is in the KRS. So that's not something that you really negotiate. The second thing is that it cannot serve individual retail customers. It is purely a wholesale transmission system.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Mayor Atkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Holland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sayers?
Yes.
Thank you all. Next item is Resolution 2412-0903, the McKinney Water Wholesale Amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. This is regarding a 2020 water wholesale agreement between the City of Danville and McKinney Water District. This amendment's to include financial updates, water demand, and other agreement modifications. In your packet was the original agreement, and since then you've been provided the updated agreement. Just to recap a few things that were changed. McKinney has been working to secure additional funds outside of, in the original 2020 agreement, there was discussions about McKinney seeking financing from the City of Danville. That doesn't have to happen now. So some of that wording was stricken from the original agreement. And then we added some language regarding minimum and maximum water demand for the system. And then some additional language regarding the consumption rate and the fee associated per 1,000 gallons. So there was just a few changes to the original agreement. And then also, I don't know that it was included in your updated agreement, but there's also an exhibit which I've went and made some copies of here and a color photo of the map that's also included in the original agreement. I've got this information if you need to review that also.
Questions or comments? Do we have a motion on this one? No. We don't, so let's get a motion in for 2024-12-0903. Is there a motion? Kevin would move if he was here, but he's not here, so what y'all waiting on? Okay.
I'll move to accept resolution number 2024-12-0903.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there other questions or comments?
So under Exhibit A, there's no longer a Danville portion?
No, there is. And I can provide this to you. It was excluded from the updated version that was provided to you today. But, so if you look at that, on the old agreement, that Danville portion, it was previously $181,444. And this agreement was done back in 2020. This was back early, I'm assuming back before they had any solid construction numbers. And those numbers need to be updated to 2024, 2025 numbers. So back then, Danville's portion was $181,444, and that number's changed to $576,749. Then the McKinney Water District portion was $625,867, and that's changed to $1,440,787. So obviously, construction and design, easement acquisition, all costs involved have gone up in the past 4 to 5 years. So if you take that, so just as a point of reference, you know, typically the installation of an 8-inch water line cross country is usually anywhere from $60 to $90, give or take. It could be higher at times. So if you take that $576,749 and divide it by Danville's portion, which is about 8,200 linear feet, that comes to like $69 or $70 a linear foot. So it's actually, it's in the wheelhouse of typical costs for a water line project.
Okay.
And I've got this information here if you need to review it.
Yeah.
Are there other questions or comments?
Marshall, to be clear, the Danville portion will be owned by the city and maintained and operated directly as a city water line. I think that's the biggest part of the delineation, and that's the Danville side of the meter location. So that's typically how we would do it with a wholesale or residential customer on the Danville side of the meter. That's the city's. On the opposite side of the meter is the responsibility of the customer, and that's true in this case too.
Correct, yes.
Right.
And this water line, actually, if you look at the map in the original agreement, it essentially runs cross-country to the south from Airport Road, where our existing water tank is at Airport Road, cross-country to Highway 300, and that portion alone would be the city of Danville portion. That's the meter that Earl's talking about right there. And then inclusive of the meter and everything else to the south along Hatcher Road, along Moore's Lane, to the tie-in to Highway 1194, otherwise known as McCormick's Church Road. That would be the McKinney portion of this project.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, once the lines, like Earl mentioned, once the line is constructed, the city of Danville will own and operate that 8-inch water line. And also with this agreement, the city of Danville has the ability to use that water line for further distribution along that same corridor in the future.
So when we do a future water rate study, the cost allocations tied to each individual wholesale customer ultimately will be borne by that customer. And so things like this are what's considered when that AWWA standard is, we apply these details to that idea and that standard, which is why we've been pushing towards going to that standard for our water rate studies as we've had Salt River Engineering do those. We've aligned our rates more with the AWWA standard precisely, which is in theory, more approvable at the Public Service Commission, so that when we're dealing with a wholesale rate that's governed by the Public Service Commission, then that more easily communicates the rate base in that cost allocation, I guess you could say. And so, which is why we delineate the cost in the Danville portion and the way that we do, or the way that's being proposed.
Okay.
There seems to be a lot of just quiet up here. Can you kind of go over the benefits of doing this?
Well, you're adding a wholesale customer to an area of the community that's underserved with water supply. So you're increasing your offering to sell them water to shore them up in that watershed, essentially. They are a supplier of water, a reseller of water. They currently purchase water. They're not a direct serve customer of Danville now. This connects them directly to the Danville system so that water doesn't, when bought by Stanford, doesn't go through Stanford's system to get to them. And so this gives them additional capacity to meet their demand. So the system inside of Lincoln County is complicated. You have different districts. You have Stanford Utility Commission and McKinney Water District, for example. Houstonville has a direct line to the city of Danville, doesn't have any other purchasers that it purchases from. So McKinney is asking to become a purchaser of the city of Danville, and so this authorizes them to do that. The decision was originally done in 2020. This agreement updates some of the terms and conditions of that original document just to reflect the market conditions that exist now in terms of costs specifically.
And then in the updated agreement, of course, it mentions the minimum anticipated water demand. So if you take that $2.41 and extrapolate that out, you're looking at approximately $52,000 a year in revenue. And that's at the minimum, right? So if the max, which we looked at this with the design engineering firm, looking at their average min and their max in a given year. If their max is 170,000 gallons, you're looking at about $147,000 of revenue in a year. So that was part of why this was, discussed as a wholesale agreement, and revision there too, is because you're looking at future revenues coming back to the city of Danville.
The way our utility fund is structured is that it's almost like a closed financial system. The funds coming in support the utility operations. They don't support other things like police, fire, et cetera. So that wholesale agreement, there's going to be increased costs because there's a new line to maintain. But in general, those will always stay within the utility fund for that purpose.
And I guess the other question people always ask is that when you're selling water to all these different companies, communities, how does that impact the water supply for the citizens of Danville, Kentucky? I think I know the answer to that question, but I think we need to get it out and let it be answered so that the general public is hearing these discussions. How does this impact the water supply for the citizens of Danville?
Well, for example, let's say that the city of Danville generates roughly around 5.5 to 6 million gallons a day, right? We actually have the capacity to produce and treat up to 12 million gallons in a day. So, demand such as this, you're talking about pretty minuscule additions to something of that nature. Bottom line is the city of Danville has a lot of room to provide something like this, as well as other conversations. We've got multiple wholesale customers as it is right now. And as long as everybody's in agreement with those wholesale standards and the verbiage that are in those agreements, then we shouldn't have any issues with not only providing capacity for something like this, but for additional customers in years and years in the future.
And I guess the other thing, this agreement sort of provides safe, clean water to this area, but at the same time, it allows the city of Danville and I guess KU to be the only drawers of water out of our lake, not our lake, but out of the lake.
Correct.
We were already selling to them. We're just updating the contract.
They had not
We were a
started
wholesale,
purchasing.
right. But
They,
now they're going to purchase.
correct. They had not built the line
Right.
yet. They signed their purchase agreement in 2020 and had been working on the project easements, those various things that slow a project down. Because it has taken so long, they are asking and suggesting, and correctly, to update the terms in the contract to reflect today's cost as they're implementing it now. That's essentially the biggest difference.
And it says in here, also that if they have some huge industry come in, they have to come back and ask us for permission.
That is
to
correct, yeah.
Provide that.
Yes.
Okay, Chair would like to call for the question. We do have a motion on this one. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. All the motion carries. Wayfinding Phase 2 update.
Yes,
Mr.
thank you
Morgan.
all. They should be getting the presentation up on the screen, and you all were given a presentation beforehand. It's very thick. There's a lot of information in there. We're not going to go through all that. I just wanted to give you all that to have and kind of look at over the holidays and digest, and we can maybe talk about it more later in the spring. So we're ready to move into Phase 2 of the wayfinding. We went back and looked at the original 2018 wayfinding plan. That's a terrible map to look at, but it's got all the locations all in one place. But the rest of the slideshow is each of those locations zoomed in. To complete it, Melanie and I sat down in the past few weeks, and we've looked at every single sign in the 2018 plan and talked about each one and made changes if we thought there needed to be changes, because a lot has changed in 6 years. Tried to keep the general, desire of that plan in place. And it looks like to complete the plan, we've got 3 large vehicular signs left and 33 medium vehicular signs. And I'll go to the family of signs next, and we'll look at that. Project estimate, if we bid it out the same way we did the first phase, it'd be about $200,000. I'm going to try to bring that number down by doing some work in-house, doing some local sign making, so we can try to save money. But we can talk about that more in the spring when we get the budget, as we set a budget for next year to implement this. Here's the family of signs that was in the original wayfinding plan. I don't think the pointer's not working, but the signs on the left side of the screen, that's the signs we've installed so far, would be the second one from the left, which is the freestanding large vehicular sign. We have 3 more of those we need to do out on the bypass connector road area. But then the remainder of the signs are left would be more in the category of the 2 in the middle, which would be a somewhat smaller sign. A lot of this is going to depend on once we dive into the exact location of these signs. And Kendall's here, and he just went through this down in Perryville working on those signs. You really have to find the perfect place to put it, and it takes a lot of thought and a lot of effort to fit that in. So there may be some changes to sizes and locations and how we're mounting them, but that's going to be the next step for us, is diving into each one of these signs and starting to do the encroachment permit process and the design process. But I wanted to bring this back to you all again, so you can kind of see what family signs that we're working out of as we prepare. You know, the directory signs, we've talked about that a little bit in my last update. The one on the far right, we should have those going in soon. One at Wizard Park, and we're working with the county to find a location at Constitution Square as well. So we hopefully have those up soon. And then the rest of the presentation, which, like I said, we're not going to go through these all. We might even try to post this to the website, because it's into the public record now, of each sign, and I've got, is it large or medium, where it's located. I've tried to describe how it will be facing and the direction of town you'll be coming in when you see it. And then the destinations that will be listed. There's a lot of criteria that go into those destinations. When people have questions about them, there's KYTC has a whole guide that drives how we determine those destinations. We're limited to 3. We're limited to how you enter those destinations. They're open hours. There's lots of things that go into that. So as you if you go through this, I think there's 30 pages or something in here. I kind of go on intersection by intersection that shows the destinations on each sign. You come in, like, this is an area, this is Lebanon Road and Perryville Road, where they split. Main Street splits in the Lebanon Road and Perryville Road. That is going to be a tough location to find a good spot to put these signs. That's something we're going to work on. But we'll come, when we get these encroachment permits to a point where we feel like we've got the final setup done, I'll bring this back to you all and show you all the final locations where we're going to put things. But yeah, that's really all I wanted. I wanted to give this to you all, let you have it, look at it. If you have questions or anything, reach out to me. We'll discuss this, and then I'm sure we get questions from the public. But I think in general, the first phase turned out well, so we're just going to kind of try to follow that same playbook. So, any particular questions? I know that you all haven't had a chance to look at this yet, so I don't want to. It's no decisions to make tonight, just informational, and let you all know that we're working on it.
Well, it's a good packet. I looked at it this afternoon, and I appreciate the work that's gone into it. And I'm sure when you come back, there'll be several questions, but I like the fact that it's phase 2 and it's probably the last phase, so.
I think there will be future phases. I think depending on how this phase goes, we'll have other places we want to add signs.
Yeah.
And then I've got a third phase that'll be more pedestrian and cycling based wayfinding. That'll be much smaller scale, especially signage wise. You saw in that family of signs, the pedestrian signs down here, the second from the right, are much smaller, much more affordable. And I've been discussing that with the Trails Alliance. I'm going to use the Trails Alliance to help me plan that, because that'll be a citywide kind of thing. It'll start downtown, but I think it'll grow out citywide. So that'll be another phase that we'll bring in later. But this will be a good second phase for us.
Okay.
So at Sector 1, it doesn't look like, this is not the Welcome to Danville signs.
No, the welcome
Right,
signs,
okay.
we should have, we're working with USA Signs to get a good design in place to bring back to you all. We should have something in the next couple of weeks. I'd say that first meeting in January, we'll have something to present to you all. That's our goal at this point. But we're wanting to get it right. We're probably being too picky on it, but I want to nail the welcome signs and make sure that we have a good design for you all to look at.
Okay. How many of those are there?
There are 7 welcome to Danville signs.
7?
Yep.
Okay, wow.
there's Lexington, Bergen, Maple, Perryville, Lebanon, and Houstonville and Stanford. I can go, you just go around the wheel.
And some just fell down, right? Because they
Yes,
were
we've
old?
taken
Okay.
Bergen Road down because it took a lot of damage during the windstorm last year, and some of them are damaged. We've pulled a lot of the vegetation out that has died. They are in dire need of replacement, and we're, you know, it hurts my soul every time I drive by any of them at this point. So it is a high priority on my list to get those replaced.
So by summer, we could have,
Yes,
New-
we should
Awesome.
definitely have welcome signs by summer.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, give me a hard time if I don't have that done by summer.
No, the callers will give us all a hard time, but we still hear about it. No, but again, it's important you take your time and do it the right way. Let's go on to the next item then. And Josh, that's still you, right? That's 12A,
Yes.
Toggle Road?
Yes, you all have a resolution for an agreement with VIP Auction Company to conduct an auction to sell, what's the address? 41 Tuggle Road. It will be an auction with a reserve. The items in here that I wanted to make sure that I pointed out to you all, it's a 10% buyer's premium if the property sells. If it does not sell, the city will owe VIP a couple of fees just for putting on the sale. $1,000 for the auctioneer's fee. There's a few auctioneer's fee, bid spotters, creating the ads, those kind of things. And then a not to exceed amount of $1,500 for advertising costs. So if it doesn't sell, if it doesn't meet the reserve, we will owe VIP those numbers. That's really the main things to point out in this agreement. But I need authorization for the mayor to sign this agreement to get it started.
So we need a motion.
Yes.
Okay, so of resolution 2024-12, 0904, I guess?
Okay, so moved.
Is it
Oh,
05?
Is it 05?
It's 05.
05.
Oh, 05.
We have it on
Okay.
4 already, 05, okay. You still a motion to approve? Ms. Jenny, you still motion? Is there a
Yes.
second?
Second.
Thank you, ladies. Any further discussion?
Like for the public, can you tell where that, it's just a property the city owns and we're selling?
Yes, it's the property where the water tower is built off of Perryville Road, and it's the house in the land in front of the water tower.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Chief Gray, the next item is yours, sir.
Mayor and Commissioners, you all have a resolution there, 2024-120904. It's a resolution reference evidence software. It's called, it's an agreement. It's a company called propertyroom.com. It's an online auction company that deals with evidence from or property from our evidence room. Lexington and other law enforcement agencies have this. It's, like I said, it's an online auction company. They have a working agreement with Sourcewell, which the city uses to monitor contracts and things like that with in the past purchases. What it would do, it allows the links to be put on city's websites and things like that. It would, like, for example, with, say we got some jewelry from a burglary or something that we find or locate that's found property that we cannot get an owner for, that jewelry would be appraised. It would be put in an auction. We could have that auction linked here on the city's pages, and based on what it is auctioned off for, the city would receive a certain figure for. So they would do all the appraisals and things like that for us. We wouldn't have to go out and get that done. Like cell phones and computers and electronic events, they would swipe those things for us. We wouldn't have to do swipe or do any of that kind of stuff. They would swipe those things again, put those things up in an auction group, send us a link that we could attach to the PD or the city's website. Creates a large audience for bidders. Hopefully, the more bidders we have, the more money we get. It's based on certain figures inside the contract there.
And Chief, if I may add a little bit more context to that, the city currently employs the use of Gov Deals that we have a memorandum of understanding for as an online auction seller of any item surplus by the city of Danville. What the chief is asking for tonight is essentially a specialized online vehicle to sell collected pieces of evidence. And they specialize in, for instance, firearms and jewelry, and do the appraisals that are necessary for that, that may go beyond the capacity of Gov Deals. I don't know. However, the process used will be the same as we have always done for surplus property. So in the event that the police department desires to surplus articles of found property or evidence, it will still have to become before this commission to be declared surplus. And then, as opposed to using Gov Deals and specifying that it'll be sold there, it will allow this particular vendor to be the auction house for these particular items through the police department.
Correct.
That's good. That's good, yep. I do want to confess, I got to reading that agreement. It was 98 pages long, so my confession is I did not complete it, Chief. I'm sorry. Some really technical stuff. But
You're gonna have a hard time with the test then at the end.
yes, sir. That's right. I've been known to fail one every now and then, but wow, it was very heavy. Nobody's confessing, but I want to confess that. Okay. We need a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-120904.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. And the chair would like to entertain a motion to? That's not what I would.
Very brief, it should be very brief, honestly. Property acquisition.
It's 7 o'clock. Josh and Marcia did real good. Yeah. Yeah. So, is there a motion?
I make a motion to go into executive session regarding potential real property and acquisition for which publicity at present stage might or would be likely to affect the value per KRS 61810-1B.
I thought he said personnel.
Property acquisition.
Property? Okay, excuse me. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
sir.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're out of executive session. Chair would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, good night, and I hope I see you.